Hi guys, if you guys are in my afternoon classes, I'm sorry I won't be making it to class, so I decided to make you guys a video with examples of problems that you guys have on your assignment. So the first thing I want to go over before we start even solving any problems, I am going to just go over really quickly just the three formulas that we are going to be using today. So you have them on the board as well, but if you guys are watching the video, just going to go really quickly over those formulas so that you guys can have them here as well. So the first one that we're going to be using is going to be the formula whenever I have a circle and I have two secants crossing inside of the circle. I'm going to name this point A, I'm going to name this point B. Where they're crossing or intersecting, I'm going to name that point C. I'm going to name this point D, and this final point is going to be point E. Whenever I have two secants intersecting inside of a circle, I'm creating an angle here in the center, and I'm going to be marking the angle with blue. Okay. I am also going to be using arc AB for my formula, and I'm going to be using arc DE as well. Okay, so whenever I have an angle or I'm missing an angle and I want to figure it out, I'm going to be using the formula that says the angle equals 1/2 arc AB plus arc DE. Okay, so when you guys want to do your problems, I want you guys to color code them the same way that we're doing with our formula right now. So that's the first formula that we're going to be using. The second formula that we're going to be using is going to be one wherever we have a secant and a tangent on a circle. So I have a circle, I'm going to have a secant, and then I'm going to have a tangent. I'm going to name this point on the top B. I'm going to name the vertex of my angle A. And for this one, I'm going to do the same thing so that we don't get confused. My angle, I'm going to be marking it with blue. So when I'm talking about an angle on this equation, I'm going to be talking about that angle that I just marked in blue. Then the intercepted arc is going to be the one that is between the blue lines. So very, very important when we're solving for problems. My equation, whenever I have this type of problem, is going to be angle equals 1/2 the arc. So arc AB. So this is the simple formula. There's only two parts to it, the angle and the arc. The last formula we will be using is going to be whenever I have a circle and I have either two secants, my angle is on the outside, or I have two tangents and the angle is on the outside. So I'm going to mark my points first. So this would be point B, this would be point A, this would be point C, and this one would be point D. The same thing first, I'm going to color my angle. The angle, notice how on this picture the angle is on the outside. Then I'm going to use green for the biggest intercepted arc. So that means the biggest arc between the blue lines. And I'm going to use red for the smallest arc between the blue lines. Our formula for this is going to be angle equals 1/2 arc CD minus arc BA. Those are the three formulas that we're going to be using. Every time that we solve a problem, we're going to match it to one of our formulas. So we're going to get started. I'm going to start by solving problem number 15 with you guys. So the first thing I want to do is I want to color code like I did before. So I have an angle and I'm looking for x. So I'm going to mark that angle. Remember, we mark angles in blue. So my angle is right here. Now, in order for me to use the formula to solve this angle, I need to find the intercepted arc, the arc between the blue lines. Okay, so very, very important. Before I use the formula, I need to find the green arc. Now, we have to keep in mind that they're also giving you guys 260 degrees for this part of the circle. So I'm going to use that to find the green part. Always remember that a full circle equals 360 degrees. So to find the green part, I can do 360 minus 260. That's going to leave you with 100. The arc is going to be 100. Once we solve for our arc, now we can work with our formula. The formula says we're going to use our angle. Our angle is x plus 50. So the angle goes first. Always remember we have angle equals 1/2 the arc, the intercepted arc. Okay, that's our formula. So my angle is going to be x plus 50. Then I put my equal sign, 1/2. In between parentheses, I'm going to put the measurement of the arc. So the arc is going to be 100. Now, because I have all numbers on the right side of the equal sign, I'm going to make my life easier and just put it like that on the calculator. So if you guys get your calculators out and you guys put, remember to put fractions in parentheses. So I am going to put, let me clear this so that way you guys can only see our work. So 1/2, just copying what I have on my problem, times 100. I can only do this if I have only numbers, okay, on the right side or on the left. So if we only have numbers on one side of the equal sign, I can just put it on the calculator. That's going to give me a total of 50. So let's go back to our problem. So I'm going to have 50 on this side of the equal sign, and then I'm left with my angle, which is x plus 50. Now we can solve for x. So what I'm going to do is, I want to move the 50, so I'm going to do minus 50. Remember that you always want to leave the variable by itself. So I want to solve for x, so I need to leave the x by itself. Whatever you do to one side, I do to the other. Cancels out. So I'm left with x on the left equals 0. So my answer is going to be x equals 0. That's going to be our first example. So that's the answer for question number 15. I'm not going to be in class today for my afternoon classes, so make sure that if we have any questions, we're writing it down. We circle the problems that we're having questions on so that it can make it easier for you guys to ask the question tomorrow in class. So let's go to the next example. I'm going to be solving problem number 16 with you guys. So I get a problem. The first thing I want to do is color code so I know what formula to use. My angle in blue, angle goes in blue. Then my biggest intercepted arc goes in green. The smallest intercepted arc goes in red. Okay, notice how I have a measure for the angle. I have a measure for the biggest arc, but I do not have a measure for the smallest arc. But I can find it. Remember that every single time that I make up a circle, complete circle, from green all the way to the red, all of it together, both parts make up 360. So to find the red, I can always subtract. So I can do 360 minus 257, and that's going to give us the measurement of our arc. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to be doing 360 minus 257. So we have 103. So my arc is going to be 103. Now I have all three parts and we can start solving for our formula. Our formula says that I'm going to put the angle first. So the angle is 13x minus 1. That has to equal 1/2 times the biggest arc, which is 257. The formula says minus, and then the smallest arc, which is 103. And we close parentheses. Notice again, I have all numbers on this side of the equal sign, so I'm going to put them on my calculator. That way it makes it easier for me to solve the problems. So I'm going to be putting, let me put our calculator so you guys can see, parentheses, 1/2, close parentheses, open parentheses again, and then we put 257 minus 103 equals 77. So let's continue solving. I have 77 equals 13x minus 1. Okay, remember we always want to leave the variable by itself. So I'm going to remove the 1, so I do plus 1. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'm left with 13x equals 78. Last thing we do is we're going to be dividing by 13. We cancel those out and we're left with x equals 6. Again, guys, please, if you have any questions, make sure you guys are writing them down. We're going to move to our next example. Our next example is going to be question number 23. I decided to use this example because we have variables throughout the whole circle and even the angle. So the process is not going to change. I am still going to color code the same way. So I'm going to color my angle blue. So my angle is in blue right here. I'm going to color the biggest intercepted arc in green. So that's this part right here. And then I'm going to color the smallest intercepted arc in red, which is this value right here. I have everything I need, so I'm going to start by using my formula. The formula says that the angle, so the angle is 30x minus 3 equals 1/2 the biggest intercepted arc, 116x plus 5. Now here's the trick. Minus. This is minus. If I have more than one term, here I have to put it in parentheses. So I'm going to put parentheses 3 plus 60x. Close parentheses, and don't forget your other parentheses. So this one is a very, very big problem. So the next thing I want to do is I am going to get rid of the 1/2 just because it makes it look better. So I'm going to get rid of the 1/2 by multiplying by 2. Remember, we went over this. So I'm going to multiply by 2. Notice how on this side there's two terms, so I'm going to multiply times 2 to both numbers. So I'm going to get 2 times 30x, that's going to give me 60x. 2 times negative 3 gives me negative 6. Put our equal sign. Now that's gone. On this side, I have 116x plus 5. Now, I have a negative outside parentheses. That means the negative has to be distributed to both numbers. So that means I'm going to have a negative 3, but I'm also going to have a negative 60x. That's very, very important, because if not, we're going to get a wrong answer. The next thing we want to do is combine like terms. So I'm going to combine my x's, and then I'm going to combine my numbers. So let's do x's first. We get our calculator and we're going to be doing 116 and it's not plus, it's minus. So 116 minus 60, and that's going to give me 56x. So I'm going to have 56x. Now if I combine the numbers, I have a positive 5 minus a 3, so that's going to give me a positive 2, my equal sign, and I just bring everything down here. And we can start solving for x now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide. Remember, every time you're crossing the line or you're moving things from one side to the other, we do opposite. So I'm going to start by moving the 56x. So I'm going to do minus 56 minus 56x. Cancel it out. So I'm left with 4x minus 6 equals 2. Then I need to get rid of the 6, so I'm going to do plus 6 plus 6. It cancels out. So I'm left with 4x equals 8. The last thing we do is divide by 4. So x equals 2. I know, guys, all that work for x to be 2. Let's go to the next problem. Look at the difference between this problems and the other problems. They're not asking you to solve for x. They're telling me that I want to find arc BC. So that's very, very, very important. I'm going to solve for x, and then I'm going to replace it with the number that I get. So the first thing we do, we still need to solve for x, so I'm going to go over the angle. My angle is this one right here in blue. The intercepted arc is the one between the lines, so that's this right here. Okay, so now we can use our formula, and our formula is the easiest one. It's going to be the angle equals 1/2 the arc. So I'm going to put my angle 26x minus 3 equals 1/2 the arc. The arc is 49x plus 3. Okay, the next thing that I do is I want to get rid of the 1/2 first. So remember, we multiply times 2 to get rid of it. Again, I have more than one number, so I need to multiply both numbers by 2. So 26 times 2 is going to be 52x. 2 times negative 3 gives me negative 6. On the other side, I just have the 49x plus 3. And I can start working now. So what I want to do is I want to cancel all the numbers, and we're trying to leave the x by itself. So I'm going to start by moving the 49. So negative 49x on both sides. So 52 minus 49, it's going to be 3x. Bring down the 6, bring down the 3. Now to cancel the 6, I do opposite, so plus 6 plus 6. Cancel it out. Now I have 3x equals 9. Last thing we do, divide by 3. So x equals 3. Now that's not what the question is asking me for. The question is asking me for arc BC. If I look at arc BC, it's represented by this equation. So arc BC equals 49x plus 3. So to get arc BC, I'm going to put 49. But instead of putting x, I'm going to put the number that I got, which is 3. So I'm going to replace it. Then we put plus 3. I have all numbers, so every time I have all numbers, I can just put them on the calculator. So let's get the calculator, and we're going to be putting, let me move it so you guys can see. We're going to turn our calculator on, and we're going to have 49 parentheses 3 close parentheses plus 3. press enter, so our answer is going to be 150. That means that arc BC equals 150 degrees. And that will be our final answer. If you still have any questions, guys, please make sure that you're writing it down so that you guys can ask me tomorrow when I see you. Have a good day.